I'll just get started and let everyone kind of join in as they can. Everybody hear me all right? I'm going to have my chat open. So what I would love is question-wise, if you have questions while I'm talking, just put them in chat or save them, write them down. And at the end, I'll go through kind of the basic information. And at the end, if you have any questions, I'll go through chat and try and answer them, or we can, do it. Depends how many participants there are. It gets kind of difficult to answer. I think 70 people were registered for this, so we'll see how we can do it. So you guys can all see the screen. Everybody sees where it says navigating seniors housing. Good, excellent. Okay, so basically what I'm going to do today is just go through the basic application, a little bit about GEF, how seniors can apply, what kind of programs we have, and then also some alternatives if GEF isn't the right fit. So the first thing I'm going to do is we are going to start with a land acknowledgement. I just want to recognize that we are gathered in collaboration and with joint purpose on Treaty 6 territory. This territory is home and gathering place for a diverse Indigenous people, including the Cree, Blackfoot, Métis, Nakota Sioux, Iroquois, Dene, Inuit, and many others. We know the importance of the treaty and our responsibility to these communities, and that only in partnership can we create social change necessary to end homelessness. So we'll get into GEF. GEF, seniors housing, is one of the largest providers of subsidized seniors housing in Alberta. We have close to 4,000 seniors that call us home. We have a variety of programs, both apartment and lodge. But yeah, we have 4,000 roughly that are living within our communities. GEF began in 1959. We're coming up to our 65th anniversary next year. The goal for GEF is to provide quality, accessible, safe, secure, and affordable housing. And we really are working to provide more than just basic shelter. We work both as a staff team, how we work with one another and how we work with our seniors. We really, we introduced the quality of life philosophy about 2 years ago, and it is really oversees everything that we do. And it's basically to provide seniors with accessible, affordable, safe housing in supportive environments, so they're able to successfully thrive and age in place. We have guiding principles within that quality of life. So this is something that we do in our work every day. We look at the basic principles of choice. So we believe the senior should have a say in not only where they live, but how that looks. They are to be treated with dignity and respect. We look at the overall well-being. We believe in kindness, compassion, and there's accountability. These are the things that drive the way we, our policies and the way we work with seniors. GEF. So the breakdown for us is we have 35 apartment buildings and 11 lodges. This is all in the Edmonton area. So we have everything, as far south as Mill Woods, as far north as Roslyn area. So we're spread all through the city. We do not have anything in outlying areas such as Sherwood Park or St. Albert. So it's just in the metropolitan Edmonton area. Sorry, you guys, I'm getting over the end of a cold, so I sound like a frog. You poor people have to listen. Okay, so when we look at that breakdown, our average age of tenants has definitely rose in the last couple of years. We're finding that more and more people are aging in place. So they're staying in their homes because there are these supports like home care and other things. People used to come into our housing closer to 65, and you can see that it's definitely the median is raised, that people are coming into our supports and services and our housing a little bit later. So let's talk about the differences. If I'm going too quickly, you guys, please just flag me down or send me a big stop sign and slow down. The two programs that we offer with GEF are apartments. So apartment is just like how you or I would live. Can you switch the slides to presentation view? Oh, I can try. Hold on one sec. View presentation. Normal. Yeah, I don't see that in my view. You know what? I'll try and make it a little smaller here. See if that'll help. Oops. That's about the best I can do. Sorry. Just to the left of the Zoom. Okay, let me see if I can figure this out. You're talking to a non-techie human. Just to the left of Zoom. Okay. Sorry, you guys, I'm not seeing that. I'm sorry. I'm just gonna have to keep going how I have it. The icon looks like a screen, old school screen. Yeah, you know what? I'm sorry. Can't, doesn't seem to want to come up for me. I'm just going to keep going. Sorry, apologies. Okay, so looking at apartment, what we have is apartments. It's just like you and I have. It's in the community, it's independent. So we have bachelor, 1 bedroom and 2 bedroom options. Usually when a senior is looking at an apartment style accommodation, it means that they are still independent enough they're cooking on their own, doing their housekeeping. All of the buildings are 65 and older. So that means ages 65 and up. So the only difference between living in a GEF seniors apartment versus one in the community is that it is a senior building only. The way that rent is calculated is it's 30% of your income. So you could have 10 different people living, in similar suites, and they're all paying something a little bit different because it's based on their individual income. And when we say annual income, we use the notice of assessment, and it's line 15,000, which is your income for the year. And every year they will look at, you'll submit your newest notice of assessment, and they'll recalculate it based. So the idea is that it keeps the income geared to your actual income. So if there's any increases or decreases, it's reflected. The leases for apartment are month to month. You'll sign a 1-year lease because it's based on that 30% of your income. But in terms of giving notice, or if you choose to leave, it is only a 30-day notice that you have to give. At any time your income goes down within that year, there is if it would make a difference in your rent by $50 or more, you can ask for it to be recalculated. So we really want to make sure that that 30% is reflecting your actual income. Then we have the, where am I? I'm a little bit, sorry guys, got me all combobulated here. So then we look at the lodge program. So I get asked a lot about what the difference between apartment and lodge. So lodge is still independent. When we say supportive living, it means that we provide meals. So your meals are all in a dining room. Housekeeping comes in once a week. There's activity and wellness programs in the building. The suites in a lodge have no kitchen. So they're like a studio apartment. You have your own open suite, your own bathroom. You come and go as you please. The only difference is your meals, snacks, etc. are all down in the dining room. What's non-medical, so there is 24-hour-a-day staff, but they're not medical staff. We work with Alberta Health Services, which provides home care. So when a senior is requiring home care, whether it be for something like bathing assist, med assist, something like that, that contract is between the senior and AHS, so Alberta Home Health Services. So if the senior were to move from, say, apartment to lodge or between apartments, the health supports they have or home care supports they have follow the senior. It's not dependent on the building. So in terms of independence, what we're looking for is a senior still able to navigate to and from dining room, to and from activity areas. If the senior gets to the point where they're requiring more support than the lodge program, then it's higher level care, and anything above the lodge program is monitored and supported by AHS. So at the point where lodge is no longer able to provide the supports that a senior needs to thrive and have a good quality of life, then AHS then comes in, does an assessment to decide what does that higher needs look like, and then they, from that point on, they will moderate and guide the senior to the next level of services. I see some questions coming up. I absolutely are going to look at those after. One I'm seeing right now, yes, you can take meals to your room if you like. You don't have to eat in that common area, but yeah, it's generally easier. Same with the meals too. There's 3 hot meals a day. You can go down for snacks anytime. You don't have to go to all the meals. Some people aren't morning people or whatever, but it doesn't change the structure of the fees or anything like that. If you do in the lodge program miss more than a couple meals, we do a wellness check. So someone's just going to call you in your suite, or they can't reach you, knock on the door, make sure everything's good. In the lodge program too, you don't have to, but if you're going to be gone for overnight or extended amount of time, they ask that you let them know, just so that when they notice that you're not coming to meals, kind of, know that everything's okay. So when we look at eligibility, so we know that GEF offers, housing. What do you have to do in order to be subsidized? The 3 eligibility requirements are pretty simple. You have to be 65 or older. If you're a couple, one of them 65, the other one 60. There are some questions about under 65. We do look at 60 to 65 for a bachelor suite only, but that changes depending on what we have for occupancy. When we have some sites that have higher vacancies, so there's suites available that, cannot be rented to people 65 or older, then we will look at that 60 to 65. But currently we're at a point that we have such high occupancy and such low vacancy that we're not looking at 60 to 65s. That being said, we do look, on a high needs basis and case by case, and it does change depending on occupancy levels. But at this point, we're focusing on that 65 and older. Citizenship, you must be a Canadian citizen, a permanent resident, or complete sponsorship process. Again, we kind of look at these on a case by case, but these are the basic requirements. When we look at income, so if you're curious what the income is, again, I mentioned that it's line 15,000 on your notice of assessment. That'll give you an idea of what that looks like. So if you're applying for a bachelor, so a bachelor like a studio suite, your income needs to be 37,000 or less. If you're applying for a single suite, so a 1-bedroom, the threshold is 44,000 or less. And couples, we're looking at 54,000 or less. These are set by the Alberta government. We don't just pick these numbers randomly. So they are updated usually every 6 months. So these are the most current thresholds. So when you're applying, you're a 65-year-old senior, you're a Canadian citizen, and you're looking for a 1-bedroom, then and your income is 44 or less, then you're able. We do have programs for people who are over these thresholds. They're called the terrace programs. But currently, we're not accepting applications because the wait list for those, we have 3 of those programs, those are buildings, sorry, are so high that it doesn't make sense to put people on the wait list. We feel like we're at max capacity because those buildings are based on a first come, first serve. And yeah, they're just maximized at this point. So then we look at, additional factors. So when you apply, other things that are considered, we look at housing references. So the applicant must provide a consent for housing reference. So we look at if you have been renting in the community, we reach out to your previous landlord. We supply you with exact questions that we ask, and they're pretty basic, you guys. It's not too intrusive. Has there been any issues, with payment of rent? Are you decently a good human? Those kind of things. So yeah, I'll definitely touch on wait lists at the end. So a housing reference. If you own your own home, have been living with family, then we understand that a housing reference can't be provided. When I was talking about independence, functional independence, what I mean by that is, here's some of the things we consider. So are you physically, mentally, emotionally able to look after your own needs? So with or without assistance. And when I talk about assistance, what I mean is home care able to help you? So when we look at things like med assist, or sometimes people need to help bathing assist or stocking or dressing, those kind of things. As long as you're able to navigate and thrive in the housing that you've chosen, whether it's apartment or lodge, with or without help, then we look at those factors. If we have a senior who's applying that has mobility concerns in a way that they would not be able to get, say, in a lodge to and from the dining room or to and from, activities, because we don't want anyone to be, solely isolated in their room, then we look at, maybe they're at a point where higher needs are needed, or sorry, higher care needs. Are they able to maintain their unit in a safe and clean condition? So are you able to maintain your suite? In a lodge, you do have housekeeping come in once a week, and they change your linens. If you have a single bed, they'll clean or change the sheets, and they come in and change the towels as well. We look at, are you suitable for communal living? So are you able to live amicably with other tenants? So in an apartment, it's a wee bit different because you're, in and out of your suite. Basically, you can join activities if you like, but you're kind of doing your own thing. In a lodge, you're spending a lot of time communally with people at meals. So we really want to make sure, is that a good fit for you? Are you willing to follow the residential lease agreement and tenancy guidelines? That's all very transparent and talked about at the when you do your lease signing. And it basically, again, you guys, we're just looking at we want to make sure that everyone is safe and respected. So the guidelines of living in a communal living. Can you manage your own medications? So with or without home care assistance? Are you able to maintain personal hygiene? And are you, meeting your dietary needs? So all of those parts, when we look at what program, is best suited for you, these are the things we take into consideration. So how do you apply? So you've decided, yeah, listen, I meet those 3 requirements and I want to apply. So we have a couple ways to do that. One is we have an online application system, which I will talk about and show you, but currently it's being upgraded. So we can't access it at this point, but I don't think the upgrade will take very long. So I will talk about it. you can apply directly on the online system. The nice thing is you can do it from anywhere. And sometimes we have social workers or family members that are helping the senior apply. So it's a really nice way to be able to do it. You log on to the applicant portal, you can complete it, and the application gets immediately sent to us with all the details. This is kind of gives you an idea what it looks like. So when you go on to it, you'll be able to navigate application. It kind of goes line by line. So you put in your details. You'll get to a page about where you previously lived, some income information, kind of what are the buildings you want to be, those kind of things. So it absolutely mimics a paper application, and you can send it off. So in the meantime, while that is down, another way to do this is you can apply with a paper application form. You can download that off of our website, complete it, and then you can submit it a couple different ways. Once you've completed the application, you can mail or drop it off to our central office, which is kind of in the Westmount area. We're not too far from the Space Science Center. Or you can scan it or email it to our housing address here, housing@gef.org. I should mention that if you're looking for more information, not just the application form, but you can go on to GEF.org, and it'll give you pictures and kind of a virtual idea of all the different buildings. It tells you a bit about each building and what area they're in. It'll give you an idea of where it is sort of on a crude map of Edmonton. So if you're like, I want to stay in the northeast area, you'll be able to see sort of what buildings or lodges are in that area. The nice thing is that when you do hit each building, you will get an idea of what the outside looks like. There are some pictures of the inside of the building. There's pictures of the actual suites, so you can sort of see size. They show pictures of, even the bathroom. And then there's information about the community. So it'll tell you where it is in proximity to shopping, supports, bus routes, etc. So the GEF.org website is a really good place to start if you're not even sure kind of where you want to be or what you're looking for. So once you've completed the application and you've submitted it one of these lovely ways, you've mailed it, dropped it off, scanned it, emailed it, however, what do you call it, carrier pigeon, however you want to get it to us. So after you submit it, then we'll contact you with the next steps. This will just give you an idea of what the paper application looks like. So it's pretty straightforward. They're going to just ask you things like, where you're currently living, what your rental is now. What are you looking for? So we talk about benefits. We want to make sure that every senior is receiving full benefits, so that they're entitled to. So OAS, CPP, GIS, if you're entitled, your Alberta senior benefit. So we look at all that kind of stuff. So that just gives you an idea kind of what it looks like. One question we get quite often are pets allowed. GEF is a pet-friendly housing. So we have what we consider pet-friendly suites. So basically what that means, especially in terms of dogs, as we look at, does it have like laminate flooring? I guess that's our big one. When we look at what we're looking for in a pet, the pet should be at least 3 years old and owned by the tenant for at least 3 years. So we want to make sure that, you're not starting off with a brand new kitten or dog. It's someone who's kind of been a part of your family or your companion. What we look at pets, we usually look at birds, fish, small dogs, cats. There have been times where we've looked at a couple cats. We've had some applicants that have 2 cats, whether they're, siblings or something, and they don't want to split them up. I think what we really are recognizing is that, especially over COVID, that there really was some value in seniors having a pet in terms of combating isolation and companionship and loneliness. So I really, my background is a social worker, and I love that we're looking at the importance. In terms of, we are kind of reviewing this policy right now, but as it stands, there's a $250 deposit if you have a pet, and then an additional $20 fee. We are looking at possibly changing the deposit, just recognizing that that's a lot to ask when you're moving in on top of, all your other expenses. So when it's a pet, usually what we say is if it's a dog, other pets like birds, fish, cats tend to stay in the suite. But if somebody is looking to move in with a dog, we ask that the pet comes with the senior to the interview or on the site tour. And the idea is we want to see, is that pet good with that communal area? Because a dog especially is going to be going, out for walks or to use the bathroom kind of thing. So we want to make sure is that pet friendly with other seniors, make sure they're not a barker, that kind of thing. So plus selfishly as a pup, a dog person, I think it's lovely when we get to meet all these puppies and dogs. So yes, you can apply with a pet. There is a pet application. So let's look what that entitles. So when you apply, these are the things we look at. We look at, does the pet have a City of Edmonton license? We understand sometimes that is after move-in because the license is connected to where you live. So if a senior doesn't have a City of Edmonton license right away, then we can make that a condition of you get one once you move in. The pet does have to, by pets, cats and dogs, I don't think you can spay or neuter a bird. Pardon me. So the applicant, we need a letter or documents from a vet saying that the pet is up to date on their vaccination, currently healthy, that they are spayed or neutered. The other thing that's on the pet application is important is that you have to have a responsible person to be the guardian of pet. And the guardian has to sign and agree to it. So basically, if anything goes sideways with the senior and perhaps they need to be taken to the hospital or something happens, we need to know who to contact that is going to take care of that cat. Pardon me. So, or cat or dog, right? We don't want the poor pet to be left on their own, and nor are we able to provide the care for it. So guardian, spayed or neutered, up to date on the vaccination. And then this is, we strongly recommend that the tenant has appropriate liability insurance that includes pets. So yeah, those are the basic requirements. The other thing that we should talk about with GEF is if you are living in a lodge or apartment, activity and wellness programming. So it is basically prominent in the lodge program, meaning that there is an activity and wellness coordinator that sets up all kinds of things, you guys. I think it's gone way beyond your bingo game and your shuffleboard tournament. The activity and wellness coordinators really do have a wide variety of activities. Every month there's a calendar that comes out so you can kind of see what's coming up. The apartments do not have a daily activity and wellness, but they do have someone who plans bigger events. So bus outings, there is always a summer barbecue, a Christmas celebration of some kind. So even in the apartment, those kind of activities are planned. It's just not the day-to-day stuff. In the apartments, what we look at with the help of the volunteer coordinator is setting up senior tenant guided. So if there's something in lots of the apartments, there's a group of tenants that start up all kinds of different activities. There's knitting groups and card playing and shuffleboard and all kinds of stuff. But in the apartment, those tend to be more, and we push for them to be more tenant led because every apartment is its own little kind of community and they have their own interests and things that they do. So the activity and wellness coordinator in apartments helps with the big yearly events, but the day-to-day stuff, we're really looking at the tenants to kind of guide that on their own. In the lodges, there is daily activities. In the lodge as well, we have external service providers, which is just a fancy way of saying hairdressers or nail care. So Those people are from the community and they put in applications to come services in the lodge. So we would vet them and make sure that they meet all the health and safety requirements, and then they come into the lodges, and then the seniors can sign up for when they're going to be there to so yeah, lots of the lodges have hair salon space, so they can sign up for when somebody's coming in to provide those services, or nail care or exercise programs. The other thing I want to quickly touch base on is that GEF, when we talk about it being more than just like a roof over your head, we have a community support program. This is one of the programs that I oversee. And basically, we have a team of social workers who provide, once the seniors moved in and they identify that there might be some areas of need that they're requiring or looking at. Sometimes it's really simple, like, hey, I just moved in and I don't know how to do all my address changes, especially for my government benefits. They can help with that. Sometimes it's more intense things like counseling, or they're looking at meal supports or food supports. The idea is in the building, it'll be identified who your outreach worker is. And then it's between the tenant and the outreach worker. It's separate from the site management team, so it's confident. Confidentiality is respected, and we don't share that information. So anytime a senior is looking for some extra supports, we provide that so many staff. We provide that outreach worker to work with that senior. The other thing to mention is that GEF is a non-smoking, smoke-free housing option. We have for several years been working on a clean air initiative. Basically, what that means is that we recognize that there are still people in the world who smoke. So there is designated smoking spaces. Most of these spaces are outside. Many of them offer a covered area, for weather. There are some lodges that have inside designated vented smoking rooms, but not all of them. So none of our suites are smoking suites. So there's no smoking in your own suite, but there are definitely, oh, we're asking if it includes perfume. Yeah, we ask that people be scent sensitive, but it's not anything, because there is no bylaw for it, that we can, ban it. We can ask that people be respectful for it, but we do not, we can't enforce it, I guess is the right word. Okay, so basically you've decided that, hey, yeah, I think I want to apply. I put my application in. I've kind of identified what program I'm looking for in terms of apartment or lodge. I know that I want to be in a certain part of the city. So what happens is, after you put in your application, it will be processed by our front desk. And then it moves to what we call our housing team. So the big fancy word is a housing coordinator will get a hold of you and set up an interview time. So whether it's our front desk or they might call you to set it up, but you'll have a time to come in and meet with one of our housing coordinators. And basically, I hate the word interview because it sounds so judgy. That's not what it is. It usually takes 30 minutes to 45 minutes, depending. But what we're looking at is we're really talking with the senior or the applicant to find out kind of where they're at, where they want to be, what are their needs, how are those needs being met, so we can determine. We look at things like what program might be best for them, where they want to be in the city, in terms of what we can offer. So the other thing that's really important about this meeting is that both the lodge and the apartments are scored. So there is a scoring that is created so that these programs are not first come, first serve. We really do look at things like who has the highest needs, So applicants are prioritized based on the needs. If they have a high housing and service needs, and they're flexible in terms of where they want to be, what location, they maybe select several different sites they're open to, then the wait time could be a bit shorter. If an applicant wants only a specific location and their needs are pretty low, then there might be a longer wait time. I will absolutely talk about wait lists and times in a second. So what we're doing at that meeting when we chat with the senior is looking at all those factors. Once you're eligible and on the wait list, you can be on the wait list for several different sites. You can only be one program. You have to choose if you're going to be apartment or lodge. You can't be both. But once you select your program type, you can be open, you can be on the wait list for every apartment or every lodge, depending on your choices. So you've come in, you've met, you're on the wait list now, say you've picked 3 lodges, what happens next? So the housing coordinators work with our site teams. When the site says, so say you've selected McQueen Lodge. McQueen Lodge says, hey, housing coordinator, we have 2 people that are moving out. We'll have 2 vacancies for this date. The coordinator manages that wait list. They're going to look at the top 3 people on the list and reach out to them and say, hey, listen, this is coming open. Are you willing, ready, and able to move? And if they say yes, great, then we make that match. So now we say to the site, hey, listen, Joe is next on the list for McQueen. Here's all his information, reach out to him. Really important to know, and I want to stress that even every senior has a choice. So if you go, you're matched. Say Joe was matched to McQueen, he goes, he takes a look at it, does the tour, realizes that, you know what, this is maybe not what I'm looking for. Maybe it's the suite itself, maybe it's the lodge itself. I just don't think this is the right match for me. It's okay to say no. We don't shred your application. We don't take you off every list. It just means that that one was not the right fit for you. And so then what we would do is move to the next on the list. I will stress, though, that we will do this 3 times. So basically, you will be offered 3 different sites or 3 different matches. At the end of that, if you've said no 3 times to offers, then what we do is it means you come back and you talk to your housing coordinator, because it usually means either we weren't understanding what you're looking for or you don't understand what we have. But yeah, so basically you're given 3 different options. You don't have to take the first thing. So one thing I do really stress with applicants is don't wait until that match is made to find out if a building feels good to you. You at any time can reach out to any site and ask for a tour. You don't even have to be an applicant yet. So on that gef.org, there will be the contact information for every building, apartment and lodge. So if you're curious or not sure kind of what you're looking at, you are free to reach out and work with the site to coordinate a time to go do a tour. It's better to go and see than to wait, because if you sit on a wait list for 3 months and then you go to see it and you're like, oh my gosh, no, this is not it. It's kind of a waste of time. So I encourage for people to kind of do some homework and due diligence and kind of reach out. So once that match is made, the site calls you, you go see it, you're like, oh my gosh, yep, this is good. Then from that point, you're working with the site in terms of move-in dates, when you sign your lease, all that good stuff. Yeah, so encourage to do the tours. I will just finish up by saying that there are other alternatives. The reason I added this slide is that, you know, with the ebbs and flows of housing, there were times where we had an inventory of suites, so that if there was sort of crisis housing or people were looking for things, we kind of had these, whether they were bachelors or other suites. We are in a situation right now where the need of housing for seniors is far outweighing the inventory of suites that we have. So two factors. A, there is an overwhelming need for subsidized seniors housing, and that need is increasing as the senior population increases. And also the other thing that's changing is that people are staying in housing longer because things like home care and other supports are able to come in so that they're able to age in their current situation before needing to move to, say, a higher care situation. In terms of wait lists, so I'll talk a little bit about that. Because that score, that population, that puts you, we could have 20 people on a wait list, and you could be number 4. But today we interviewed 4 people with their needs. They scored higher than you. So they're going to populate higher on that list, which bumps you down. So when a senior calls us and says, where am I on a wait list? We're very hesitant to give that information because it changes day to day. The other things that affect waitlist is the buildings. Some buildings are popular and the wait lists are longer. That could be based on location. It could be based on some of our, we have a couple of locations that have lodge and apartment housed in the same building, like Kiwanis, like Pleasant View. We see sometimes a higher wait list for those because people like the idea that if they're in an apartment and they need to transition or want to transition to lodge, it's much easier to move within the city, or sorry, within the building than it is to move to another building. So for whatever reason, everybody has a fit that works for them. Some buildings have longer wait lists than other. Ken, you're going to ask me what the average time is. I'll say this, that buildings that have higher suites, so our bigger buildings that have 150 or higher suites, pardon me, the wait lists are going to be shorter because there's higher turnover, just because there's higher number of suites. If you're looking at a building that has maybe, you know, a smaller number of suites, like a 30 or 50 suites, your wait time might be a little bit higher because, you know, the turnover isn't going to be as high. Sorry, I'm just going to grab a drink here. What else can I tell you? Anyway, I'm going to open up some questions. So let me just finish with this. So because right now, people put their application in, we're looking at about 2 weeks between your application being processed and your interview being scheduled, your conversation with the housing coordinator. So about a 2-week time there. And then depending on what you're looking for, which sites, the wait lists, the wait times can be anything from a month to 6 months to a year. It depends on how many buildings you choose, the type, where you want to be, what that wait list looks like. And those change, you know, depending. So it's really hard for me to estimate. I will say this, that we are pretty much at peak occupancy right now. So there are some spaces in the lodge, but the apartments, yeah, it's really full. We have seen in the last 6 months the peak amount of applications coming, even per day. We are like doubling where we were a year ago. So it really is showing the high need for subsidized. So yeah, I'll just go over some of these really quick. Sage is a great resource. They have a directory and housing information. So what people will do sometimes, if they have like a basement suite or something, or a suite or a house or whatever, and they want a senior applicant, they'll list it with Sage. So it's a great place to look at some alternatives. Savita and Vista have senior housing. Yeah, so Edmonton Home Ed is a site you can pull up for City of Edmonton. They have some seniors housing options. Province of Alberta has Alberta Affordable Housing Program. If you Google that, there's some listings there. There are also several for-profit, so retirement communities. I mean, definitely higher income options, but there's many of those as well. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do, you guys. I'm going to look at some questions now. So I'm going to try and pop back into the chat, and I'm going to stop sharing my screen here. And okay. So do I have my camera on? Yep, so you can see me. Okay, I'm just going to backtrack in the chat here and see if I've missed anything. If you have any questions too, please let me know. I'm going to work my way down here, see what I missed. Do we take applicants within the 55 and to 65 range? Never below 60. So even like I mentioned before, right now between 60 and 65, we're looking at it kind of case by case, but because we just don't have the vacancies, we really are focusing on the needs of 65 and higher. Next question was, let's go here. What is the wait list for SACA non-income based apartments? So if we are talking about terraces there, I think I mentioned that the terrace programs are, there are no income thresholds, and it is first come, first serve, and we're not currently accepting applications just because the wait lists are like so peak. It will change if we see something, but right now, yeah, although there are some what they call affordable subsidized programs at SACA for the lodge. I believe they are accepting applications for those. Sorry, let me down here. Can residents take their meals? We've talked about that. Wait lists I kind of tried to address. Is it possible for applicants to tour? Yeah, absolutely. What if your pet is over 3 years old, but it's a rescue? Yeah, you know what? Again, pets, like I said, we're looking at the way the pet policy came out. It was when we first started it, and I kind of feel like it's time to look at it. So we are looking at case by case. Here's what we don't want. We don't want someone to get a brand new kitten or something because that require, or a dog, a lot of time and energy, but also if something's happening with the senior and they age or move to higher, what's going to happen with that pet if it's a very young pet? We are currently looking at working with some senior pet rescue associations. So they'll do like foster of older pets. So the nice thing is if a senior is thinking they'd like to have a pet, but they're not really sure how that's going to go, we work with these rescue. They take an older pet, so it's a win-win because older pets are usually harder to home. They work with the senior, they set it up, they do the visit, and then if something does go sideways, there's always an option of that foster pet going back. So yeah, we are looking, like I said, case by case, how pets can work to live with seniors. All right, what's this? Are you socialized properly? Good standard for pets and people. Fair enough. Is there consideration for location of units building for people with severe allergies to animals? Yeah. So basically what we do is if you identify that you're very allergic or sensitive to any type of animals, then when we look at placement in the building, if we know that that's an issue for you, then we're going to be cognizant of that and maybe not have you living right next to. Some buildings have even done where their floors are pet friendly floors, and kind of concentrating pets being sort of in one area of the building. But yeah, that kind of thing. Okay, could I explain liability insurance? Sorry. Yeah, so basically, one thing that we encourage with all seniors who are moving in is to have home insurance, content insurance, renter's insurance, something like that. Because the experiences generally, it might not be you, but it could be someone beside you, above you, below you. So say George upstairs left his faucet on or put his medicine bag in the microwave for 10 minutes instead of 10 seconds. If some kind of damage happens to your suite that you need to relocate while it's happening, tenant's insurance is going to cover that. So we encourage everyone to have it. Liability just means that I was talking about that more in context of a pet. If you have a pet living with you and you let your home insurance know that, lots of times if there's any damage done by the pet, they'll cover that. We talked about the perfume and scent-free policy with MAID. Yeah, I can speak to that. That again, much like I was saying about your connection with home care, that's something that is private, and that is a relationship between you and your provider. So something like MAID, if that, we've had some seniors who have chosen that program. That is like anything else. We say that we're looking for seniors to be independent. To me, that's part of that. And if that's something, that's something between you and the MAID program. And if that's something that a senior selects to do, qualifies, then absolutely we support that in terms of that's the senior's choice. We generally are not involved in it directly, but absolutely, again, supporting it in terms of dignity and respect and choice. If a senior is currently in hospital, how do they interview process? We can do virtual interviews. So we have seniors that are transitioning, even our own. So sometimes we have a senior who was living in an apartment, had to go to hospital for whatever reason, now needs to transition to lodge. We still do an interview, but it can be virtual. So as long as your social worker or a family member or someone can set up, we can do it. So much like I'm talking with you guys today. The only caveat or condition is, because it is pretty limited, we can't sort of see or talk about physical appropriateness, that sometimes we'll say that that you're approved for the program, but that it is conditional to a site tour. So we can do that initial eligibility interview and conversation, but in order for you to of the building, especially in a lodge, can you get on your own? Are you able to get two and two? Are you able to get back and forth to the dining room, etc.? So yes, we absolutely, when you put your application in, if you need a virtual interview, just to indicate that, and we can definitely set that up. Currently in hospital, wait times. Are they very different for each? Lauderdale is new, so the wait list is longer. Yes, it is. But again, you guys, what I would say about the wait list, it has more to do with some buildings are more popular, but again, a building that has higher number of suites is your wait time will be less because there just happens to be more of a turnover. So say a building like Kiwanis that has 200 suites, you know, the movement within that building is going to, there's going to be more of it than a building that has 50 suites. So yeah, it depends. And some locations are just popular. Like Saka is the only building we have in Millwood, so people tend to want to be in that area. That's the only building they choose, so that wait list can be a bit higher. What else can we get? Would a tour include seeing a suite? Yep. If it is occupied, a couple of things we can do. Some of the buildings have like a show suite or a suite that they keep. And sometimes there are, if a suite is in transition. So the suite might not be available, but it could be, it's already matched to someone, but if there's a time between one tenant moving out and one moving in, that's the suite they can show you. Sometimes there's a suite that is being, some work is being done in it. So whether it's an upgrade or something's happened, that could be a suite they show you. We also have some seniors that volunteer. As long as there's masking or proper precautions, their suite is open to being shown. So yeah, we try and navigate that, even with the high occupancy, that there's still an option. Where am I here? My mother speaks Chinese. I'm not sure the question. My mother speaks Chinese, then the list of places is limited. Listen, like we know that there are some buildings that have different, there's a predominant group. because like attracts like, and sometimes groups of seniors like to stay in, oh, I have a friend who lives there, or I know that quite a few people from my church live in this one or my community. What we are doing in terms of the buildings, it doesn't matter. I mean, you choose where you want to be, but when we put up signage or certain things, we make sure that if we know that there's a predominant different languages, like one of our buildings has 3 or 4 different languages that are spoken in it. We try and translate to make sure the listings or any notices we put up are put up in different languages. Also, if there is a predominant group, we encourage them, again, like I was saying, by the tenant-led activities. We can sometimes bring in community projects that facilitate programs in a different language or a specific cultural group. So we're definitely aware of those needs and open to it. I don't know if that answered your question, sorry.
I just wanted to know if you knew of any leads to get other information, you know, like since you're in the business here.
Sure, so I'm in the business, yeah. There is the Chinese, there's 2 Chinese cultural centers. You know what? I'm gonna put my email in the chat. Send me directly, and I will send you a link to that that information.
Oh, okay. I'll send you my email through the chat.
No, I'll send you mine, and then you send me because then if anybody else has questions, they can.
Oh, yeah,
That way
yeah.
you're not sharing your email with the whole world. Okay.
Share it with you specifically.
Oh, okay.
So
Here's mine, just for anybody else if we run out of time or you have questions, because we're kind of getting there. Let me just go back up here. Okay, so we answered this one, wait lists. So asking again if you can find out where you are on the wait list. Again, we're hesitant to give that because honestly, you guys, it changes day to day. Because the scoring system populates people according to score on the wait list, that can change. We can for sure give you like a rough idea, like, hey, this is in your scoring range, this is kind of where you're going to land on the wait list. But yeah, that can kind of change. What else? I'm trying to see if I got anything going on here. Golden Homes. Okay, so that redevelopment, there's nothing currently in line for that. It's all based on funding. So there are no current plans for that redevelopment. That is city-owned land. If we are unable to, working with other groups, sustain funding for that, that land will go back to the city and they'll determine how it will be reallocated. But at this time, there's no funding in place for any type of development. Is the increase of applications due to rapidly increasing rents? Listen, the conditions out there, for sure. So a couple factors in the increase. So yes, in general, the cost of living for seniors, rental increases for sure. I think just vacancy in general, not just seniors housing, is there isn't a lot out there. The increase every month, I think there's a stat that, especially in Alberta, the number of people who are turning 65 is like thousands every month. So, I mean, we just don't have the inventory to meet the needs of of seniors needing that type of housing. So, you know, those are contributing factors. How does one ask for a tour before they're interviewed? Again, if you go on to gef.org, there is contact numbers for every apartment and every lodge. Contact them directly. You do not have to be an applicant. You can just say, listen, I'm curious about the type of buildings and what it has to offer. I'd like a tour. If you're getting any pushback, again, just reach out to me. I included my email there. Another question about MAID. Let me look at that. So again, with MAID, we don't have any affiliation with any type of religious organization. Again, talking about dignity and respect, the senior guides their own life, their own decisions. So we're not going to initiate it, but we're also not going to get in the way of it. So that, again, that whole that whole thing is between the senior and the MAID application process. Oh, that's mine. What else we got going? Okay, you guys, I think we're slowly running out of time. If I haven't been able to answer any of your questions, or I missed something that you in the presentation, please reach out to me via email, and I will try and answer anything I can in terms of missed questions. I would really encourage you, if GEF is feeling like it might not be an option, or you're worried about the lack of options, then, like I shared in the last slide, reach out to Sage. They have a directory. They're really lovely at helping you with the different options. Oh, my email, I can put it back in one more time. Sure. So again, I'm really sorry I missed this at the beginning. My name is Denise, and what I do at GEF is I oversee the housing. So the housing coordinator. So when you apply, that whole process, and then I oversee the outreach teams. Once the senior is in and housed with us and is needing supports. So I'm going to pop this in one more time, and then I will probably end, unless there's anything.
You're going to send us your email?
There it is, one more time. Yep.
Where is it? I can't see
Oh,
it.
no, that's direct to do. I need to put it to everybody. Hold on. Let me get it to the entire group. Sorry, everyone in the meeting. Sorry.
Yeah. Thank you. I was like, no, it's not there.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, let me add that one more time. I was like, I'm sending it, but then I realized it was just one poor person's going, why are you giving me this? Okay, so let me just make sure everybody, you see that now?
Yes.
Okay,
GROY hyphen POAPLA.
yeah, so GROY hyphen POPAL at GEF.org.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah, so just shoot me any questions you have, or if there's something in the presentation you wanted more information on. But if not, hopefully you guys, I was able to, in my Kermit the Frog voice, apologies, but it was able to give you a basic idea of what we can do for you. And yeah, thank you so much. Okay, I'm going to sign out, you guys. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you so much.
Okay,
Thank
take
you.
care.
Thank you.
Bye.